Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Lady Freethinker's Activist in Action interview series. I'm Nina Jackel, founder of Lady Freethinker, a nonprofit media organization dedicated to exposing and stopping suffering of animals, humans, and the planet. Today, we are excited to speak with Lola Weber, co-founder of the Change for Animals Foundation, or CFAF, and campaign coordinator of Dog Meat Free Indonesia. Based in Bali, Lola is working to end the dog meat trade throughout Asia and improve the lives of animals around the world. Lola, before we get started, did I miss anything, or would you like to share a bit more about your background?
I think you covered most of it, but I would like to say a huge thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of the issues we're going to discuss today, and to really have the opportunity to shine a light on such sometimes seemingly overwhelming problems, but also talk about the amazing work that's being done by people all around the world. And so I'd just like to say thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, you're absolutely welcome. We're so happy to have you here. So, for the first question, for those who aren't familiar with your organization, can you please explain why you decided to found CFAF and what its areas of focus are?
Yeah, so Change for Animals Foundation was set up by myself and three of my former colleagues in 2011. We had all been working together at an international animal welfare charity based in London. And we'd all worked on a variety of different issues. And I suppose over time, we all start to feel a little bit restless and a bit restrained and restricted with how we could work. And so it kind of became a natural progression to start discussing setting up our own charity, so that we knew that we could work on the issues that we all felt so passionately about and really make sure that we had the independence to be able to really see them through. So that was kind of the thinking that led us to setting up Change for Animals Foundation. And we knew that we could keep the overheads low and really work the way we wanted to work. So we had all been working on a number of different issues and really wanted to carry them forward with us. And so today our areas of focus are the same as what they were then, just, I suppose, working on them our way. So we work on a number of issues, from ending the exploitation of wildlife in captivity and the illegal wildlife trade, promoting and running projects to ensure humane dog and cat population management. And obviously a key part of our work is raising awareness and to really try and empower people to feel like they have a role to play, which every single person does around the world, no matter where they are or what their background is. And obviously a key focus of mine has always been the dog and cat meat trades. And I suppose, like so many of us who work in animal welfare, it all kind of happened by mistake. And it was one of those situations where at the time I had no idea that one trip, my first trip to the dog and cat meat markets in South Korea, would become the most defining moment of my life. So I had been reading and trying to prepare myself for months about, kind of trying and empower myself with my words. And it truly was the most defining moment of my life. The first time I saw a dog being taken out of a cage to be slaughtered, and the feeling of absolute powerlessness, not to be able to do anything to help that animal, was truly overwhelming, and nothing I could have done could have prepared me for that feeling. And it was totally overwhelming and totally suffocating. And I always remember there was one dog who I leant forward to, and she licked my hand through the cage. And from that point on, I made a promise, because I knew I couldn't help her, which I know a lot of people find it hard to understand, but in these kind of environments, these animals are just a commodity. And I didn't have the opportunity to save her, but she licked my hands, and I promised her that she had been seen and that I would dedicate the rest of my life to ending the dog and cat meat trades. So from that very cold, most miserable, awful morning, that's where my true passion and promise to commit the rest of my life to tackling the dog and cat meat trade came in. So Change for Animals, that's been my driving thought first thing every single morning for the nearly 10 years, and my last thought at night. So these are kind of the areas. There are so many issues and so many problems that can feel overwhelming. But even though we're a small charity, we're incredibly dedicated. And by working with amazing partners, organizations, and individuals, we try and tackle as many of the animal welfare problems around the world as we can.
That's fantastic. And I know that our viewers care a lot about the dog meat trade. It's one of our issues too. Um, for the average person who really wants to help make a difference in the dog meat trade, it can seem overwhelming when you're far away and it's such a big problem. How would you recommend that they get involved?
Yeah, it can feel totally overwhelming, and I feel overwhelmed most days. But I'm a big believer in always making your voice heard, never being afraid to speak up and to speak out. And there really is this huge, ever-growing animal rights movement, definitely here in Indonesia and throughout the region and around the world. So I would always say to keep joining the organizations, do your research. There really are amazing organizations out there. Join them, support them, spread petitions, help raise awareness. I think often people assume that everyone knows, but there are so many people out there who have no idea what's going on. And it's only by shining a global spotlight on these issues that we truly have the opportunity to tackle them and ultimately to end them. So sign petitions, write letters, raise awareness, fundraise for your favorite organizations so that individual animals can keep being rescued whilst we continue to do the kind of the lobbying campaigns. And it really does make a difference. And I think now people feel overwhelmed and bombarded with information and petitions and writing letters, but it does make a difference. And, we definitely see that here in Indonesia, and we're seeing the movement grow around the world, and governments are listening. Already, just in the last few years, we've seen more countries passing progressive legislation banning the dog meat trade and the cat meat trade. And so your voice is being heard. So I would absolutely encourage everyone to think of the same thing I think of every day, which is, if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? So every morning, get up, find there's always something that can be done on the individual animal level, whether you kind of, even through promoting sheltering groups that maybe are partnering up with the groups working in the region to help rescue and rehome animals rescued from the dog and cat meat trade. Whatever it is, volunteer, make your voice heard, raise awareness, fundraise. As a kid, I used to spend every weekend writing letters to companies who are exploiting animals and to governments who are in a position to affect change. And I don't know if those letters made a difference, but I do believe that you've got to keep putting it out there and never be afraid to speak up, because if no action is taken, nothing will change. And we just keep passing these problems on to future generations, and animals will continue to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice, and I think those words of hope will help inspire people that their actions are going to make a difference, and not to give up on the dogs and cats. Um, so you've traveled the world to help animals. I know you've been to a lot of different countries and seen a lot. What have been some of your most memorable experiences?
Oh my goodness, there really are so many, and they're always bittersweet rescuing animals. And so I suppose a lot of the rescue work that I've been involved in involved dogs and cats from the meat trade. And so, as part of my work with Humane Society International, we've worked to close down 14 dog meat farms now and sent thousands of dogs to start their new forever lives. And that's always been such an amazing privilege to be part of, to be able to show these animals their first moments of affection and kindness. And it's always a little bit shameful when you see how forgiving and how incredible these animals are, and how they really do learn to forgive and to love life again. And then obviously there've been the individual animals, where when we've been doing ongoing investigations, which is by far the hardest part of the work, well, it's walking away from the places afterwards that's even hardest. But going there takes it takes a lot out of you. But we always save those that we can, because it's for us as much as it is for the animals. A lot of the time, when your heart feels so broken, being able to restore justice truly is a privilege. And there've been so many animals, but one dog comes to mind is definitely Bobby, and he was rescued from a dog meat market in North Sulawesi in December 2017. And I'll never forget his face. He was sitting in a cage, and he was just surrounded by blood splatterings. And he had been there for hours, and the traders told us that his owner had abandoned him. They said that he was a bad dog and they didn't want him anymore, and so it sold him to them just to get rid of him. And he was the most beautiful, calm soul I had ever seen, and he was just so majestic and surrounded by so much horror. And I just remember thinking, how did a beautiful, beautiful soul like you end up in such a horrible place? And I didn't try and bargain or anything with the trader. He asked for an amount of money, and I paid it, and it spared Bobby's life that day. And just like that, the dog meat trade ended for Bobby. And he went on to live the most amazing life. And he taught me so much. And even though walking away, you have to kind of hold your breath and promise yourself that you won't look back, but know that you will keep going back for every single Bobby who you couldn't save that day. And so that's what we do. And then obviously there's my beloved Django, who was rescued from a dog meat farm in Korea. And you can probably hear in the background, he likes to make himself heard. He was rescued from a dog meat farm in 2013. And dogs like him and all the others, they make the campaign personal, which means it hurts more, but it also means that there's never a risk of giving up, no matter how overwhelming and difficult the campaign can feel and how sad it can be. It's a reminder of what we're all fighting for, and how if we all work together, there'll be no more Djangos or Bobbies to save, and that's ultimately the dream, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, what an amazing feeling that must have been, walking away from that slaughterhouse with, a dog rescued, and then some that you couldn't rescue, obviously. I mean, very bittersweet, but I'm glad that you were able to save those lives and make a huge difference for those dogs. Um, so for my last question, I'd love to know what's in store for you and for your organization, and also what is the best way for people to follow your work?
Yeah, so we'll keep doing what we're doing and keep trying to expand our programs and our campaigns. We'll still always save each and every individual animal we can, whilst we continue to really lobby the government to really try and get that legislation in place, so that these are issues that can and will be banished to the history books. So we're a small charity, but what I love about that is it means we can keep our overheads to an absolute minimum, and we can keep focusing and expanding the campaigns that we believe in. So we'll keep joining and creating alliances and coalitions, because we really are strongest when we work together. And so we'll keep going until we win. And so with everyone's support, we can and we will. Would ask everyone to please just continue to follow us on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and sign up to our newsletter to stay updated with all of the different progresses that are being made and different calls for action. So all of that information can be found on our website at changeforanimals.org. So please follow us and join us and keep making your voice heard for animals.
Right, changeforanimals.org. We'll post that on our website too. So Lola, thank you so much for talking with us today. We really love everything that you're doing, and look forward to following your journey and seeing more dogs rescued because of your work. And for everyone watching, thank you for checking out this episode of Lady Freethinker's Activist in Action series. Be sure to check out our other videos in the series, as well as stay tuned for future episodes. And for more information on our organization, please visit ladyfreethinker.org or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Lady Freethinker.